Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here at the Atlanta Photography Group. We're happy to be early on in the ACP events and kind of kicking us off in a way. The Atlanta Photography Group, for those of you who are new to us this evening, was established in 1987. It's an artist-initiated 501c3 nonprofit, and we provide opportunities and support to the fine art photography community. I want to also be sure to thank our sponsors and our grants. APG is generously funded by the Lubo Fund, the City of Atlanta Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs, the Fulton County Board of Commissioners, and the Georgia Council for the Arts through the appropriation of the Georgia General Assembly. The Georgia Council for the Arts also receives support from its partner agency, the National Endowment for the Arts. We're also supported by our individual donors, membership, and our volunteers. And it really is, all of these things together is really what makes APG run and keep photography in front of everybody in Atlanta from our side of it. Okay. And I just have a few quick photos to show. I'm not going to leave these up. I will post them online. But this is the exhibition that is up. We're doing the virtual opening and juror talk this evening, but this exhibition is on view in the domestic terminal atrium at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. So it is up, you can go and check it out. It's absolutely some gorgeous images, and it's definitely great for social distancing. So it's a wide open space and you can easily go and check it out. So I'm just gonna kind of show these a little quickly. They're on all of the columns in there. And I do want to have a shout out to Hannah Mule. Hannah Mule is our paper sponsor for this exhibition, and they provided paper for us to print on. So it's all printed on high quality Hannah Mule photo rag Beretta fine art paper. And they did a really lovely job installing it and pairing up the images. I've let them pair the images, so, but it looks great. And there's last one, and you can see people actually do stop by and take a look at the images while they're there, which is really, really fabulous as well. It's a great kind of break through some of the chaos of the airport. Okay. Tonight we have the juror talk with Amy Miller. The exhibition is up at the airport through November 11th. So you can check it out. You have some time to go out there and see it. If you are in Atlanta, you can take the MARTA, or an hour of parking there now is they've reduced the rates, and I was there just under an hour and it was $3 to park. And it was really easy to kind of get in and out of the parking deck. Okay. So this evening we have Amy Miller joining us. Amy, just a little background on Amy. She holds a BFA from the University of Georgia and an MFA in photography from Pratt Institute. Amy worked at Ellen Klotz Gallery in New York and was the gallery director for Faye Gold Gallery in Atlanta. She became the executive director of Atlanta Celebrates Photography in 2007, and I believe I was on the board at that time. Okay. Miller has been a reviewer for many national portfolio review events, served as juror for a number of art and photography competitions, and curated numerous exhibitions, including an exhibition for a photography festival in China. And then a little bit about Atlanta Celebrates Photography as well. As I'd mentioned earlier, we've been friends since the very beginning, and ACP is a nonprofit arts organization dedicated to the cultivation of the photographic arts and the enrichment of the Atlanta art community. ACP helps make Atlanta a leading center for the world's fastest growing art form by creating experiences that enrich, inspire, and transform. And ACP produces the largest annual community-oriented photo festival in the United States. And I am so excited to have Amy, and I don't, where are you, Amy? Let me unmute you. I'm so excited to have Amy joining us. This is, how many years have you juried this exhibition?
That's a great question. I was trying to remember, probably 8 years, 8 or 9 years, maybe.
And I just learned that the airport exhibition, I think this is the 10th year for the airport exhibition. So you've been doing it for quite a while, and it really is a great thing. It kind of kicks off ACP, but it's definitely a staple in the fall festival. And the great thing is, I've seen people going through the airport who have learned about the Atlanta Photography Group and ACP from this exhibition that is there in the fall. Okay.
Thank you so much, Judy. It's great to be doing this. I love this exhibit. You're right. It kind of does kick off the ACP Festival. For those of you who aren't familiar with Atlanta Celebrates Photography, we produce a month-long citywide photo festival every October, and it kind of bleeds into September and November. And it consists of a core group of programs that we produce ourselves, and it's complemented by dozens and dozens of photography-related events and exhibitions that are produced by our partner galleries and artists independently producing their own events. So, even in a pandemic year, the creativity has not stopped. There are over 100 exhibitions and events taking place this ACP Fest. We've migrated mostly to digital, so check out our website at acpinfo.org to see information about all the things taking place. All the events that Judy just talked about are also part of the festival. Again, they're over. Thank you so much, Judy. It's great to be doing this. I love this exhibit. You're right. It kind of does kick off the ACP Festival. For those of you who aren't familiar with Atlanta Celebrates Photography, we produce a month-long citywide photo festival every October, and it kind of bleeds into September and November. And it consists of a core group of programs that we produce ourselves, and it's complemented by dozens and dozens of photography-related events and exhibitions that are produced by our partner galleries and artists independently producing their own events. So, even in a pandemic year, the creativity has not stopped. There are over 100 exhibitions and events taking place this ACP Fest. We've migrated mostly to digital, so check out our website at acpinfo.org to see information about all the things taking place. All the events that Judy just talked about are also part of the festival. Again, there are over 100 things happening, public art, online exhibits. You can be here and be a part of this event, which I love. The airport is actually, they have a fantastic art program, and there's art all over the airport. And they're always adding, and this exhibit in the Atrium is one of my favorites. In normal Atlanta Celebrates Photography Festival years, we're bringing in lots of guests through the airport that are flying in to present at our programs and give lectures, and we always take them through the Atrium to see this show. And they love it. And it's just a really warm welcome for people coming into the city. And it's a great way to showcase art in a really busy, chaotic environment where people need a moment to pause. So thank you all for being part of the show. There were over 600 photographs entered for this exhibit. So this is a kind of a cream of the crop sort of group you guys are in. It was really an incredible number of submissions, and the quality was super high. And I'd love to go ahead and take a look at some of the work and talk about it. I think the overall,
I'm
Oh,
sorry,
go
I
ahead.
have them organized by alphabetical by first name. So if you're wondering where you are, if you're one of the artists here, it's alphabetical by first name. So that's how they will come up. So, and I'll let Amy know, the artist, she already has a list, but I'll let her know when their artwork is up. And we'll try and Chip, if you can figure out where they are and maybe unmute them at that time, that would be great. Okay, so sorry I didn't send you the list. Okay, all right, so here we go.
I'll preface by saying that you'll probably see by looking at this show all at once that instead of being about travel literally, it's about flights of imagination. And all the photographers in this show are able to sort of transport us somewhere in our minds. And all of these photographs achieve that very successfully. This photograph, this artist, I know you are here, it's Beth Hershaft.
She is not here that I can tell. Okay. I thought she was going to be, but I don't see her.
She submitted several images that have this bright flash, very flattened images that have these very strangely cropped or composed photographs. And I felt like the unusualness of the composition was able to support this brash flash technique. And so all the pictures I thought were great, and I loved this work. Of course, I thought of Martin Parr. I wanted to ask her who her inspirations are. So yeah, I love this picture. Beverly Corfin's picture, I don't know if she's on today. She told me she took this. Oh, you're here.
Yes.
Wonderful. So we spoke on the phone briefly when you had called the ACP office about something else.
Uh-huh.
And it was before I knew who took any of the pictures. So it was a blind jury. I had no idea who made any of the photographs that I selected until much later. So congratulations on being in the show. And I just thought this was such a dramatic kind of show-stopping image that transports you right into this Cirque du Soleil show. Can you tell me about making the picture?
Yeah, so actually, I don't know if I'm the only one, but this was taken with an iPhone 11 Pro. And I have been moving much more toward using that as my primary camera. And I feel like I probably would not have gotten this shot had I not had the phone in my hand as the show was opening. And the lights started, and I just put the camera up. I set the new night setting on this 11 Pro and took 2 or 3, and this one just, the stars aligned on this photo.
I can't believe that was made with a phone camera. That's amazing. It's just amazing.
I really, in my experience, the cameras have gotten so much better on the iPhones. Just quickly, I listened to a podcast a few months ago talking about the number of engineers that are working for Apple and Samsung on the cameras, 20, 30 engineers, because it's such a differentiating feature, versus with Nikon and Canon, they're losing market share. They can't make quite the investment. So kind of the convergence of the quality, is starting to be, where the iPhone photography cameras are getting better and better. And again, just the accessibility of having this with you all the time allows you to capture things that you may potentially miss with a bigger camera.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. And congratulations for being in the show.
Thank you.
And Bob Newman?
Is Bob here with us today?
Is.
Yes, I am.
This is one of my favorite photos. I stared at this picture for a very long time. The scruffiness of the boy, his clothes, the chicken in the background, just it all just melts into this sort of intensely beautiful, raw kind of environment. And I don't know, this child's expression is so intense and piercing that I don't know, it just tells a whole story. So it's a great portrait. It's crisp. All the detail and the texture of all the surfaces really stands out and kind of gives you that sort of scratchy feeling when you look at it. It's so the technique, the composition, the color palette, all of it lends itself beautifully to this story you're telling with this picture. Congratulations on this great image.
Thank you.
I see it's titled Paw and His Pet Rooster. Is this child named Paw?
Yes, he is. This is part of a series on the Irish Travelers. For those who might not be familiar with that group, they're historically nomadic and have been in Ireland for hundreds of years, probably back to Celtic times, always pushed to the margins of society. They're ethnically separate from the Gypsies and Romani, though they have similar traditions. They tend to have very large families. This young man has 8 brothers and sisters, and there's another one on the way. They typically live in fairly small trailers. His family has 3 bedrooms, so there's one for mom and dad, one for the boys, and one for the girls. But the youngsters spend a lot of time with their animals and pets.
Really a powerful image. Again, I love the palette. I love that the relief, the texture that shows in everything. It's and then that piercing glare. It's a great image. Congratulations on it.
Thank you very much.
Chris Anderson. Is Chris with us? I think Chris is joining us, maybe?
Yep.
Yes, great. I mean, this is a stunning image, and it's one of those, you know, when you're thinking about photographs for the Atrium in the airport, it's a very different curatorial process than, say, selecting images for a book or even a gallery show where you're not competing with everything that's happening in the space. So this image is one of those kind of Powell wall power photos that is just going to sing in the Atrium. And I don't, you know, I've never been to Greenland, and I can't imagine taking a picture like this or even seeing a scene like this. So I'm curious to know, was this a very difficult image to capture?
This really wasn't, other than just being out on the deck of a sailboat at 6 a.m. And you have a very short period of time, it was cold, and you have a very short period of time, this was last September, when the sun comes up on the opposite horizon to hit just the right in the clouds, or through the clouds to hit the opposite hills in this kind of this glow, alpine glow color. And it was just outside trying to time it with getting a iceberg in the foreground to kind of show the immenseness. This was a 450-mile journey that we took through a fjord on eastern Greenland, and there's always this submerged stuff. And so just standing out there and getting the right time. I was shooting with a 100 to 400 lens and a crop sensor, and so it really needed that because everything's so expansive. But just managed to get the things lined up where it had a nice foreground with that unsubmerged iceberg. So yeah, it was, there was a lot of time spent outside on ground too. This was just happened to be taken from the boat.
It's a killer shot. It's really great. What kind of camera are you using?
Fuji X-T2 crop sensor. I had shot Nikon since I was 14 and just got tired of schlepping around with big lenses and all that kind of stuff, and switched several years ago to the crop sensor. And while the clarity on this one on the screen is not that great, it actually blows up pretty big, pretty nicely. So really enjoy shooting with that. And the color palette's really nice with the Fuji as well. And it's kind of
Beautiful
retro
image.
feeling. Yeah, the way all the dials on it and everything feels like I'm shooting film again.
It's great. I was just transported by this picture. I think it's fantastic. And I try to put myself in the shoes of someone who's traveling through the airport and think about, you know, what they might like to see whenever I put the show together. So, and this was one of the first ones I selected.
Thank you.
Do we have Chuck Grove on with us today?
Yes, he is.
Excellent. This photograph, again, it's telling a story. It's a, you know, everyone's head is bowed. The cowboys who've taken their hats off in the background. It's a really strong composition, but it's made even stronger by your choice to use selected color. And I'm curious about the decision-making process behind that choice.
I'm kind of new to photography, so I really did work with it for a while. I thought it was a very genuine and powerful moment, and you know, I was really glad to capture it, but I just wanted to bring the emphasis on the lady with the horse and the flag, and then also capture the, you know, the cowboys in the background. So I was pleased with the way that it turned out.
Yeah, it turned out great. And I can't believe you said you're new to photography. Like, how new?
I bought my first camera about 1.5 years ago.
Wow. That's amazing. Where did you take this picture?
It was at a rodeo here in Cumming, where I live.
Wow. Okay, great. Good job. Good job in the post-production. Most newbies don't get that. You know, something a lot of people that are new to photography or digital, they're overly excited about all of the possibilities in Photoshop, and it doesn't look like you went through that phase. That was just very tastefully done, so congratulations. Do we have Cyril with us from Paris?
Yes. Hello.
Good night or good morning or whatever you have.
1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning.
Amazing. Well, thank you for sticking with it and being with us today. Congratulations on being in the show.
Thank you.
I loved, if you saw in the beginning where Judy showed the installation shots at the airport, it just looks great hanging on the wall. This photograph has kind of well, the composition is very, very strong. It's got this color story of, you know, the blacks, the whites, the red, and then it has the emotional story of the father and son, and then the pattern of their matching, you know, outfits. It's got all cylinders firing on this picture. I think it's fantastic. Where did you take this image?
In Atlanta, in the suburbs of Atlanta, at the rodeo, at the Bill Bickett International Rodeo. And I discovered the rodeo in 2012, and then for the first time, and then after for a couple of years, I will be back to take some photo, but I focus more on the not necessarily the rodeo, the show, but more on the background, yeah, the people, the dressed, and for this photo with Steve and his son, and it was so cute, the little boy with he play behind the pickup with a lasso, and then when I saw there was the match together, and then with just in front of the van with the color, and then yeah, very enjoy. And also I just discover for the first time in 2012 the existence of I didn't know before the existence of the African American rodeo also. So and I very enjoy. I very meet some nice people there, and then so I decided to come back and take some more pictures, and then the photo was exhibited in Paris in the fence of the mayor office in Paris, and then now in Normandy, and then they're traveling. So and thank you for. I'm very happy to be in the show, and then and since I consider Atlanta as my second home now, so.
Oh, that's great. Okay, well, if you come to Atlanta anytime soon, you'll get to see the piece hanging in the airport.
I hope so.
Great, that's a great story. Now, when you said your photographs are in an exhibit, a traveling show, is it a whole series of these, or are you part of the group show?
Yeah,
it is.
It's just the whole series was for in February for the Black History Month in Paris. So in the fence, it's a huge, very huge photo to. They are outside, and so they stay for 1 month, and now they are in the Normandy and the city. It was during the American festival film in Deauville. Every year they host the film, so it was a match with the festival and the city also.
Great. Well, congratulations. It's great to meet you. Thank you for joining us today. And yeah, it's great to see your work and to meet you. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for including me in the show. I'm very happy to be with all the photographers from Atlanta and from the US.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Data's not joining us today, is that right, Judy?
I don't think so.
Of course, I love this picture. I've seen several photographic essays and stories about the falcon hunters and eagle hunters in this kind of part of China. Kazakhs are like a tribal group in northern China, and they hunt with these birds, and these photo essays are incredible. And this is a beautiful image. So I love that that we're getting to learn about these other cultures through these intrepid photographers who go places that I would never go.
All right. And then we have Dinesh, and he is here.
Dinesh, I love this picture. You know, again, just like the last photograph, it's got a color story here. This is, you know, it's just this riot of pink, kind of masquerading as architectural photography. So I love that you're photographing this church, but not. It's beautifully composed. The depth of field is just perfect. I feel like I'm there on this beautiful day, and it's very dreamy and disorienting being surrounded by all those flowers. I just think it's a fantastic picture. I loved it for the airport. I thought this is where I would stand to get away from being in the airport. So it's a great picture, and I'd love to know if you have any kind of story about it, or what made you take this image this way.
Sure. First of all, thank you for the selection. I've never really put in my photographs for any kind of jury defense before, so this was quite a surprise. I wasn't really hoping for you know, any photograph to get picked up in the first attempt, but yeah, that was quite a surprise. So thank you for that. As far as this photograph is concerned, so I've been living in the Atlanta area for like last 6 years, and I always wanted to go to the DC area to check out the cherry blossoms. And being in Atlanta, you know, it's like you have to time your flights and your holidays and everything. So we'd miss every year. And then one day, one year we decided that we're going to go a few days before the peak and just, you know, try our luck. So ended up going like 4 days before peak. And the first 3 days I passed through this garden. As you can expect in, you know, the cherry blossom time, there's way too many people out there. And you can't really get a clean shot with, you know, without other human beings in the picture. So the next morning I had a choice to make whether to go to the tidal basin to capture the sunset shot with the sunset light on the Oculus, and then or either come to this area by sleeping a little bit longer in the morning. So I happened to come by on this area. Again, you know, a lot of people, very difficult to find a shot where I would like to release my shutter. And, you know, just looking around different corners, bending down, sitting down, and trying to find what is really interesting. And I found this perspective pretty interesting because you get the best of both worlds. You get to see the little bit of the historic building, the Smithsonian building, and the cherry blossoms are, you know, right in front in the foreground. So kind of felt like this can be a very good composition. If nothing, I could just print it and hang it in my own room. So that's where it all started. And that's pretty much about it. And then the next morning I thought, okay, let me go back to this area again, see if I can get some more perspectives. But, you know, with the overnight train, there was not a single flower left. So I guess, as they say, right, photography is all about timing. So I guess I got lucky there. That's about it. Thank you.
Your choice for the depth of field and having the whole thing in focus like that was really smart. A lot of people would not make that choice, and the photograph would not have been as good. So that was a great decision, and you succeeded.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And next we have Doug Powell. He is here.
Fantastic. Douglas, I love this picture. You know, I'm looking at all of these images as a whole, as an exhibit, and thinking about all the places we're traveling, and, you know, Greenland, and there's a picture from Yosemite, and all of these places. And then I see this, and it was kind of like a slap in the face of, hey, go look in your own backyard. There's some wonderful things. And we all need this slap in the face that this picture gives us. And so, you know, it's a stop fretting and take in some beauty, everyday beauty image. And that's what I took from it. And I think it's a great picture. I love the blue and the green. I love the, you know, the upside down. I can't think of the scientific word for it, how it's refracted that way. The light in your landscape only appears in the water droplets. It's a great image. And I didn't know if you had anything to say about it. I'd love to hear a little bit about it.
Well, thank you for picking my picture. It's the first time I've entered a competition. I've gotten intrigued with close-up photography with macro lenses and finding worlds, you know, in small places. And so it can be hard to pull this off because this is a spider web hanging from a farmer's fence in a field early in the morning, and the slightest puff of air causes these little droplets to move or flutter. And so it's very hard to get them in focus, because when you're filming in with a macro lens, you don't have that much depth of field. So I just got lucky with this one where I tried to get the spider web as flat as possible. And then some people look at this and they first think these look like hot air balloons, but then they look at it and they no, they can't be hot air balloons. And then they're, like you suggested, wondering why it's upside down. And I have to explain that is natural because of the refraction from the light that hits these little tiny little dewdrops. So thank you very much for, and I'm picking mine, and I'm enjoying everyone's comments and about their photography. It's awesome.
Thank you for joining us.
Great. And then we have Eric Burkhardt, and Eric, I believe, is here also.
I am. I hope you
And
can
two
hear.
Erics actually coming up.
Great,
Yes,
Eric,
yes. I hope you
glad
can hear
joined.
me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Well, great. Just out of coincidence, I was at the Atlanta airport this morning for a drop-off, and I was able to look at all the pictures in person, and they were beautiful. And I noticed mine, which is the piece is called Street Food, and appropriately, the picture was the picture closest to the food court. So thank you. So I took this picture the end of May, I guess I want to say beginning of June. You remember all the sort of the disturbances, the looting that happened after the killing of George Floyd. I went to downtown with a couple other photographer friends, and we thought we would just we would just walk the streets and try to capture sort of the aftermath and what people were doing, protesting and so forth. And I stopped at one point and I looked back, because I always try to look back instead of looking forward all the time. And I looked back, and there was this peanut butter and jelly sandwich, perfectly whole and wrapped in this plastic bag on the street. Now, I hate to waste food, and I just hate to see it go to waste. So I said, well, I will just eat this virtually, I guess. And I was very lucky with the shadow. You know, a couple times a year, in the spring and the fall, we have a perfect sort of a 45-degree angle of the sun. And this was one of those times when I had a pretty good angle. So I just snapped that, posed myself, and just snapped that. And it's been one of my favorites because it's just a little bit of color, and everyone sees something a little different though.
I laughed out loud when I saw this picture, and I was like, "Oh, this has to go in." It's great. It's perfectly shot. The composition is great. The fact that you were able to get that shadow just perfectly. The hat and the collar, it's very film noir, you know, and I don't know. There's so much happening in this picture. I love it. I think everyone's going to enjoy seeing it.
If I tried.
Congratulations.
And then we have another Eric. Eric Kunsman is with us also.
I did
Eric,
like the shadow. Alcohol.
Hold on. Okay, I think we're good.
okay, great. I love this photograph. It's one of several in this show that has such a narrative quality. I mean, it's evocative. It's kind of dreamy. It's very cinematic. There's definitely a story. Something is about to happen or something just happened. And I know the viewer of this image is going to just spin up some sort of story. And so I'm thinking about this picture and I'm realizing, is this minor nude? So that's a whole other story. And so, you know, the plot thickens. It's just a great picture. So Eric, I'd love to know, what were you imagining a story when you made this image?
So for me, this was my conclusion of studies at RIT. And so I was traveling with, we had a class called the Southwest Photo Workshop from RIT. And so for 4 weeks, we're just traveling around, just photographing. And this was up near Goblin Valley in Utah. And everything I was doing that summer was all 4x5. It was all film. And we came across, it was about 105 degrees during the day. And where we were camping, there were these uranium mines. And so I created a series just to stay cooler during the day, but going into the mines. And then one day I was just leaving, and it just kind of dawned on me that this is kind of like the birth of my professional career from this point forward. And it was one night around the campfire, we were all talking about when we were leaving RIT, what was going to happen. So for me, this was, as you said, cinematic. So all the dust in the air, there's about 3 people helping me to take this photo, from pushing the trigger to helping throw the uranium dust in the air. And there's about 3 strobes. So it was truly a full production. And like I said, it was, for me, it was really about the idea that I was about to leave college and enter the professional world of photography. So.
Are you radioactive now that you've been breathing uranium dust?
Most likely. It explains a lot if you ask a lot of people.
We're going to have one of your professors speaking during the Atlanta Celebrates Photography Festival. I don't know if you actually had a class with him, but Josh Rashad McFadden.
Yeah, actually, I teach. Josh just started teaching there last year. I teach at RIT full time, and Josh's door, when we're not in COVID, is literally 2 doors down from my office door. So.
Oh, great. Okay, we'll tune in for that. Yeah, this photograph is excellent. I just love it. It's perfectly executed, very cinematic. I could see it, you know, a novel being written with this being the cover. It's just a great image.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a little bit old, but I figured I'd submit something other than payphones to APG so people didn't think I only photograph payphones. So.
You're the one who had the payphone images.
Yeah, like I said, that's why.
Those are great. Okay, good. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining us. Good to meet you.
Thanks, Eric. All right, and then we have Fernie, who is here.
Excellent. Okay, this is like our cover image, right? This is the photograph that's advertising the show, and I just think it's another example of a narrative image that tells a story or a myriad of stories. I think everyone who sees this picture is going to kind of imagine in their mind what's happening. It's almost like illustrating some story that's a mystery to us. So I'd love to hear about the process of making this picture and what the story means to you, Fernie.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for including me in this amazing exhibition. Well, this photo to me makes me feel like more as a painter than a photographer, because like my process is basically starts with drawings and sketches. After I have a concept, I start drawing and start like making little sketches of what I want to my photo be at the end. And what I do is basically getting all the props, getting the models, and select a location. And after I have everything and all the elements that are gonna be in the photo, I start shooting. And at the end, I end up with more than 5 or 6 images. I take all those images to my computer, and I start a long process of post-processing the picture. So in this case, I wanted to talk a little bit about like love, hate, loneliness, and that's what I basically one of my photos do to the viewers, you know, like gives you like give to the person who looks at my photos questions, and it's kind of like a way of making a story or build up a story with elements. But it's basically I think in my pictures as a questions, basically questions.
Yeah, lots of unanswered questions in these pictures. So I love that. That's it. People are going to stare at this image, and that's what you want. You want people to stare at your picture and be ruminating over it. It's beautifully executed. You did a great job pulling this together. I just think it's a great image, and it also demonstrates, you know, the breadth of what photography can be. We have straight black and white, high contrast images in the show, all the way to this image, which is a composite, you know, narrative image. So it's great to meet you. Thank you for being a part of the show.
Thank you.
Great, thanks, Fernie. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, and then we have Gail Mitchell, who is here also.
Gail, this picture is otherworldly. I just was so, you know, taken by this diagonal slash kind of between the red and the green, and how the tree, the gnarled tree, becomes this graphic element. It's very otherworldly. The texture is great, very saturated. You did a great job on this picture. I know you're proud of it. Where did you take this image?
Gail, you need to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm pushing the button, but she's not
Okay.
unmuting.
I'm sorry. Here I am. I did
Here
have.
you are.
I am here, and thank you very much. I'm really honored to be in the show with all these incredible photographers. This is from Bouchard Gardens on Vancouver Island in Victoria, and I was just visiting the Pacific Northwest and took a trip over to Vancouver Island, which I had always wanted to visit, and I hadn't really thought about, you know, what I might find in Bouchard Gardens, but it just turned out that I was there at the peak of the Japanese red maple, you know, fall season. And like someone else said, it was very hard to get this image because there were a lot of people milling around. So I had to set up my tripod, and I was basically under the canopy of the tree because I loved the bark. I loved the moss on the bark. And, you know, of course, I loved the steps and the pathway to the right of the tree. And this is a 2-image exposure because I did have to do a lighter exposure in order to get enough detail on the bark. And then of course had to have a darker one for, you know, the brightness of the trees. But I will tell you, there is, this is how it looked. I did not saturate this image. It just, this is a 100-year-old Japanese garden at Bouchard, and it's just fantastic. It was the maples. This was just one of many red maple trees, and if anyone can get up there, this was in late October. It's really a very gorgeous place to go. But I am very proud of this image. It's you know, it's just that combination of things where you get a good composition, and then you happen to put your settings right, and you know, it just kind of came together. So I'm really delighted that it's in the show, and I appreciate you selecting it, Amy.
Thank you. It's great to meet you.
Great. And Gerald Alderman, who is not here this evening, he was not able to make it.
This photograph, I just, you know, again, I contrast this with Fernie's image. Like, this is the black and white, one source of light, straight photography, and yet it's beautiful and cinematic, and yeah, I love it. I'm glad it's in the show.
Yep, it really is lovely. Hannah Butler, and I don't know, she is not here either, as far as I can tell.
For those of you who don't know, this is a Yosemite National Park. This is on El Capitan, and this is a kind of a rare phenomenon that happens a couple of days a year, called a firefall. And it's basically, if you're in the right place at the right time, the sunrise or sunset, I can't remember, hits the water perfectly and makes it look like it's glowing. It's a great shot.
All right. Jerry Poulin, he said he was going to be here, but I don't see him unless he's, raise your hand if you're here. I don't think he made it. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, this picture, again, it's another narrative image, lots of storytelling. The whole series I thought was very interesting. It was a whole series of this kind of work. Very cool.
Very, very cool. And Jeremy Janis, he is here. So Jeremy, you are with us.
Yes, I am.
Great. Thank you for joining us. I love this image. It's like three-dimensional. It's so great. I love your choice of having that little strip of ground, kind of very bottom anchoring the picture, and the rest of it's just sky. It looks to me like you have made these kinds of pictures before. This doesn't seem like an accident, or am I wrong?
No, you're right. So this actually has like kind of crazy ties. So last year I took an image that I had downtown Denver as my last. I just discovered lightning 3 years into photography last year. And so I had an image that I took of downtown Denver on a lake with a shot of lightning reflecting perfectly over Sloan's Lake. And so last year I was like, I took that in September and I was like, I'm gonna outdo myself next year. Like I made it. I always compete with myself in my own photography. So this year I actually, I saw lightning bolts around 6 p.m. Out west. So I drove like 20 miles out west, chased lightning bolts around 6 p.m., shot a sunset, a rainbow, all this other stuff in between. And I was heading home and I was exhausted, but I saw lightning forming out east of Denver. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna chase it. Chased it about an hour outside of Denver, and I ended up on the side of this country road. And the funny thing about the foreground is the only reason it's lit up is it was right next to a gas station. So all the cars that were pulling by me were actually lighting it up incidentally while I was there. So I took probably about 30 different ones, and this was about 4 or 5 shots in. And I knew it right when I took it. I was just like so excited. I was like, I literally just took a better shot than I did last year. And it looked like a spaceship just landing out on the eastern plains of Colorado. And honestly, a lot of it was just isolation this year. Like I didn't really storm chase prior to this year, but it was, you know, everyone was going west to the mountains and I decided to go east. And so I got some of these, so.
Congratulations on this picture. I have a friend who photographs a lot of weather events. His name's Bob Colbranner. He's, you should check him out. Everyone should look at his work. Was a student of Ansel Adams. And he talks about photographing weather. You know, the drama of a storm or interesting clouds is unsurpassed, but it's fleeting. Like you've got to act fast. You've got to be there because it's gone. So congratulations on this. I can tell this was not an accident. You know what you're doing. So keep it up.
Thank you so much. And thank you for selecting me for the show too.
Thanks.
Nice job. All right. And then we have Jin Woo, and he is with us.
I'm so glad you're here, Jin Woo. This was one of the first pictures that I selected for the show. I just think it's got that sort of luscious richness to the grayscale. And it's a funky image. It's very unusual. I love the way it's cropped. You don't know what's happening. All you see are these forms. It's very bizarre and beautifully, beautifully done. The richness makes it three-dimensional almost. It's a great image.
Thank you, Amy. Yeah, this was one of the images, a part of the monochromatic photo series that actually began from a book, a poetry book, where I wrote the sense of alienation. I started to notice that I had gone through since coming back here as a 19-year-old Korean American. Didn't speak the language then and didn't have much cultural references there. So I think I spent about 10 years learning the language, learning the culture, and finally having adapted to and feeling that my identity was now closer to the American part of me than Korean. So right around about that 10-year mark, when I thought I socially and linguistically have completed adapting, I started to sense certain nuances that I didn't see before. The moments where I was viewed differently, and the moments where everything around me was in foreign country, and the very pedestrian things that were possible back home, such as finding a book written in your mother language and finding food that was so accessible back home, and sometimes getting frowned upon and being treated differently in some cases. So those experiences kind of piled up, and it turned into 62 poems. And after that, without realizing that I was turning the literary language into the visual, I found myself photographing in form of metaphors. And so a lot of the images in the Tell Them I Said Hello series don't have the faces, the front side of the faces showing. And I think that was a subconscious choice I had made, and getting into the series, I realized that I wanted to keep it that way and include no faces, but have the things, have the objects, and have the sceneries and the what took place in the images do the speaking.
Yeah,
So,
I can tell that this is a metaphor. I can absolutely tell. I'm curious, were you inspired by, formally for this picture, were you inspired by sort of American modernist masterworks in photography, or did it just happen to be a metaphor that you happened upon?
Yeah, this this just happened to be one of the things I found back in Massachusetts when I was traveling, which was the place I landed to when I first came to the States. But you probably looked at the series, but as a whole, the series have very differently characterized, I guess, matters and objects that you wouldn't really, that's hard to be able to find the visual coherence, other than the fact that there's some sense of isolation and there's some sense of disconnectedness. And I thought that in a traditional sense of sequencing, I probably wouldn't have chosen such eclectic images, but I thought that it kind of matches the identity that's being captured here, where I'm kind of scattered everywhere I travel. A lot of the times I'm in Korea once a year, but now that I can't do that, I'm going to different places through the airport, and everywhere I go, it's hard to have that sense of a permanent home, but rather a place where you're in Atlanta? I just moved from Atlanta to Chicago, actually.
Oh, okay, great. Well, good luck to you. I love your work. I think it's fantastic. Thank you for being a part of the show.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Judy.
All right, and we have Carrie Walter. Carrie was here. Yep, she is here. Okay.
Hi, Carrie. I love this photograph for obvious reasons. It's a spectacular image. It's very dreamy. It's unusual, beautifully done. It's a great image. Good job. I
Thank
expect
you.
much from you.
Whoop. Whoops, I'm sorry. There we go. All right. Leslie Andrews was going to be here, but I don't think she made it.
Okay. Does anyone know, is she a fashion? Is she at SCAD? This looks to me like fashion and photography influenced.
I think I looked at her website and she does a lot of people and a lot of fashion kind of work, so.
Yeah. I love the pop of red. It's a great image. I love how tightly cropped it is.
And I just love it because it's just like very bold and really, really very graphic in the shapes of it as well. So it really is very dynamic. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and then we have Manuel Morquecho, and Manuel did not join us either, so.
Again, dreamy picture, taking us places in our imagination, being sort of the theme of this show, and it's kind of spiritual. And I don't know, I just thought it was very unusual. So you have to do a double take when you realize they're floating. It's a great image.
Yeah. And that's what I noticed. I liked it, and then I realized they were above the ground. They were like, you know, not standing on the ground, which is very cool. Okay. Marilyn Maxwell, and Marilyn, I believe, is with us. And you are under, there she is, it's under Caledonia, Chip.
When I signed in with Google, I didn't want Google to know my real name, and it's kind of awkward now. I don't know how to change it, but it's me.
It's great to meet you, Marilyn. I love this photograph. I mean, as soon as I saw it, I thought of calligraphy or ballet, just the form and the movement, musicality of the movement, and then of course the pattern of the, I'm gonna guess that's a leopard, not a cheetah, and against the, you know, the black and white choice and having the pattern of the spots against the lines of the weeds in the background. It's great image. I mean, clearly it's a showstopper. Congratulations. Where did you take this picture?
I took it on a reserve next to Kruger in South Africa. It was early morning, and the light was just beginning to come up. And my guide and I were driving along, and we saw this mother leopard and then her cub. And this cub was sort of playing attacker. He would run up to her and jump on her and then run away and spin around and then come back. And every once in a while she'd give a great big growl and hiss, you know, the kind that would scare us, but didn't scare him. And sometimes they would stop and just sort of groom each other. They both have very good fur. And then he'd run off. And I was shooting with a Nikon Z7, which is kind of slow. But so I felt very lucky to get this image. And this was like the only one. You know, I kept the camera clicking, but this one turned out. They were kind of in and out of high grass, and I'm.
Yeah, everything fell together for you here. It's a great picture. I love it. Thank you for being part of the show.
I am thrilled to be a part of the show and being in the Atlanta airport. The Atlanta airport is how I learned about you guys.
Awesome. That's great.
Thanks,
and I spend a lot of time there. I spend 5 hours at least once a year in the Atlanta airport. So, and I love the art. It's great. It's my favorite airport.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, and then we have Mark Caceres, and Mark is with us.
Yes.
Mark, I'm glad you're here. You know, Clearly I'm a fan of your work because I've juried you into like every show that I've juried that you've applied to. And again, I'll remind everybody, it was a blind jury. I have no idea who took these pictures. So congratulations for being part of the show again. It's a great picture. Part of that dreamy, taking us to places in our imagination. This is almost a nostalgic image, and gives another layer to what would normally be a common scene. So thank you. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Mark. Mary Farmer, and I don't think Mary is here.
Okay. Totally, again, this is a double take kind of image. I think it's well executed, and it's just beautifully done.
Okay. All right. And then we have Michael Joseph. He is not with us either.
This was one of my favorite pictures. Just a really powerful portrait. It's hard to capture the essence of somebody in a portrait. There really is an art to it, and this photographer nailed it.
Yeah. He does a lot of portraits of kind of this whole series of people, which is in this style and kind of the street people, but interesting street people, characters.
Mm-hmm.
Nathan Dean, and Nathan was with us. You still here?
I'm here.
All right, there you are.
Hi, Nathan.
Hello, Amy.
I love the stark contrast choice that you made for this picture. I love that really it's just about these two figures and this vast, the scale is phenomenal by showing that just these strong verticals, horizontals, white space, and these little people floating. It really gives you a sense of the scale of what we're looking at and kind of gives it an otherworldly feeling. Great job on this picture.
Thank you. I made this on a cruise ship leaving Ho Chi Minh City on the Saigon River. And one of the things I like about being in a port is all the structures that are around, the cranes and the bridges and the warehouses, because they seem to be like big hulking machines, sort of like the obelisk in 2001, A Space Odyssey, that may or may not have been alive. They sort of have some huge sense to me when I see them. And when I could get this, I looked up and saw it with the two people looking at us. One of the things I always want my pictures with people to make me want to wonder what they're thinking about as they look at me. And so this one sort of gave me both of those put together.
Yeah, and if they hadn't been there, you'd have no sense of scale.
Right.
Yeah, perfect. Good job.
Very nice. Thanks, Nathan. Okay. And next we have Nina Camerata. Nina is not with us. Okay, she was my intern this summer.
Oh, she was your intern? Oh,
yeah.
That's so great. I love these sewn on pictures, and this is like a sewn on cyanotype.
Yes.
So it just takes it totally outside the box, and I'm a huge fan of people using photography in different tactile ways. So love this.
Yep. So yeah, the original is an 8x10 cyanotype that she has embroidered on. In the exhibition, it's actually a reproduction of it to be consistent and not to put her original in the airport. So
yeah, good.
Yeah. And then is it Renee Barrero? Renee, I believe you were with us. Yep.
Correct.
Okay. Awesome.
I loved this image. Hi, Renee. Thank you for joining us. This is such a playful photograph. It's clearly a difficult exposure situation. And you're using a light wand and anthropomorphizing it. It was very good choice and very gestural. Implies people seating there. It's very fun, and I thought that it would give people in the airport viewing this kind of an experience of something they've never seen before. So you did a really good job with this. I know it was a difficult exposure.
Thank you very much, Amy. And yeah, you kind of hit all the key points, so that speaks to the photography itself. So thank you for accepting my piece.
You're so welcome. Thank you for joining us. It's good to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we have Shirley Nanini, and she is not with us. I don't think Shirley made it either. Okay.
Okay. I had to include this picture just because it's so well done. And I love the fact that she cropped it in such a way that the elephant is just walking into the frame. There's room for the elephant to continue moving through the frame. And it's also kind of a metaphor for, you know, the phrase, you know, walking off into the sunset, which unfortunately is what this species is doing. So I felt like it was just a powerful image and also served as a metaphor for these beautiful creatures.
Yep. So it is lovely. So, and our very last image this evening is Trish Lawrence, and I do not believe Trish is with us either.
Okay, great. This picture is almost, you know, a standard beautiful landscape scene, but it just has a little something extra to it. I think the way that the strip of lighting sort of cuts through the middle of the image, you get so much depth. The way the depth of field is managed in this picture is really great. And I just thought it would be a beautiful thing to hang in the airport for people to relish and enjoy, particularly if they're rushing around from a very busy urban environment to another busy urban environment. This will be a welcome image for them.
Mm-hmm. Great. So I am going to unshare my screen because I believe that was it. Okay. All right. I want to thank everyone for joining us. I hope to see you at future events. Please be sure to check out our website, atlantaphotography.group.org. We're also on social media all over the place. And I definitely want to thank all of the photographers for participating in this exhibition. I'm very excited to have all of you here.